Well. The fuck you mean you don't know DJ Mark B? You better preach it. Say that. Oh, you better go now.
Welcome to Preach, Kev Preach. We're Rashad. We are the prophets. Here another episode, another sermon. Coming at you from 12 Ounce Sports Radio, Zingo TV, iHeart Radio, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and anywhere else you can find us. Welcome to the show. What's going on, Rashad?
What it do, man? Glad to be back. A lot of things going on in the world right now, man. So, social media's been basically in shambles, man, with everything going on. But hopefully everybody's using their voice for a good cause and things like that.
Yeah, we've been going through it as a nation, as a country, from city states and all that stuff like that, man. And it's kind of hard to even think that we still going through this 40, 50 years later.
40, 50, man, longer than that.
Yeah, of course. 400. I'll talk. Yeah, you're right. 400 years with slavery. 40, 50 years since Martin Luther King came through, and we thought, hey, we gonna make progress, but it's like, I don't know if you saw what Shannon Sharp said this, but he was like, we started at the goal line. Now we only made it to the 50. We still have a long way to go. But I do want to take a moment, Rashad, before we get into what we're talking about today. As black men, this message hit home a lot. And it's really just feel like we have been lucky. Like, we're lucky to have this platform to be able to talk about the podcast and do what we love. And our ancestors back then wasn't allowed to go through stuff like this, or to have
these freedoms and these liberties. Right. Yeah, man, exactly. It's a lot.
So like I would say I've been lucky. Dealing with cops, I've been pulled over because I've been pulled over a lot of times. I worked really hard, able to afford my own car, and I got pulled over, and the cop was like, "Is this yours?" And through minutes changing, like going back and forth, I was lucky enough to get back in my car and drive home. One time, I remember I come home from work. It was about 3 a.m. in the morning, and I was lucky enough. Well, I got pulled over. I guess you could say I was speeding a little bit. Cop pulled me over. I gave him my license. My birthday just had passed like a week before, and it just so happened I was lucky enough that we had the exact same birthday, so I was able to like get off.
Finessed into a joke or something.
Right. So it was, and I was lucky to go home that night, right? And I remember one time, me and my homeboy, at the basketball game, I was taking my niece home. She was a cheerleader, and I took her home, and I thought the light was green, but it was red. And once I realized it, I couldn't I stopped, but I couldn't go in reverse in the middle of a traffic lane, because I mean, you know what I mean. So you can't do that. So I just proceeded with caution and get down low. Boo boo boo. Here come lights on, and instantly, my heart kind of, oh my gosh, like what's about to happen?
Hey, going right to your stomach, boy. Hey, get no butterflies.
I'm telling you. And so, I was lucky that my niece was in the back seat, because I feel like you never know what's going to happen, right? And I feel at the end of the day I was able to take her home, get home safe and sound. And I think for the George Floyds who wasn't as lucky as I was, Trayvon Martin, who wasn't lucky to walk home from the store, Breonna Taylor, who wasn't lucky enough to have peace at her own house, Tamir Rice wasn't lucky enough to play as a kid. I think we've seen this way too many times, and it's hard to understand that a lot of people just don't understand the message, and we've been lucky, Rashad. Like we sit here today, we went to work and were able to come home, while so many others, a lot of African Americans, like they just don't come home. And they not lucky. And I don't know, when I see a cop, I drive by, I get like a little sense, and I feel weird, and then when I keep on going, realize he's not coming for me, even though I'm not doing nothing wrong, I'm like, whew, like, thank God he didn't come after me.
Weight off your shoulders.
I just think, man, it's like wherever we're going through, man, it's just I hope we found a solution. It's gonna take a long time, but it's just crazy, man. Just thinking about like my thoughts doing all those times I got pulled over, or seeing what you see videos on Twitter and stuff all day long, and it's like, damn, man, we lucky, like, and it's just crazy to feel that way.
Yeah, just in general, man, for everybody, it's a blessing to be able to leave your house and come back home. Like, whether you're traveling, that whole thing about arrive alive, I think for everybody in general, that's a underrated blessing people don't appreciate enough. Like, just to get to work in one piece, to get back home in one piece, for your child to get to school in one piece, to get back home in one piece. I think that's an underrated blessing amongst all races. But
All right.
like you're saying, man, in regards to us, man, it's a whole lot of things going on, man, around the world, and what all we're seeing is what's being recorded and what's being reported.
Right.
That's we don't, the first thing I can remember is the Rodney King, his situation out there in California, and the riots that ensued after that. But like you mentioned, the Tamir Rice's, the Trayvon Martin, even some of those weren't on video. Like the Trayvon Martin thing, it wasn't on video. We just have
Right.
the sound bite of it. But for the most part, a lot of stuff now is. I think Will Smith said it, man. Racism isn't, it's not nothing new. It's just being recorded now. So, hopefully everything that's going on now, we can, even with our platform, just inspire change, inspire people to, love everybody as one.
Right.
So there's not all just police brutality. Like, it's crazy. You got rallies against police brutality, but it's still occurring. And I mean, it's all over social media. You can see all these, whether it's in California, New York, Atlanta, Baltimore, Minnesota. I saw enough videos. Like, it's almost like trauma porn to a certain extent, man. How much these videos circulate, and you're on social media, you can't help but see it.
Right.
But hopefully a change will come. Hopefully people are being held accountable for their actions. Hopefully we can get some better police training and things like that, just so our future generation of nieces, nephews, kids, things like that, they don't have to walk around with that burden on their shoulder of, I gotta feel like I'm on my P's and Q's at all times
Walking
when
on
I'm
eggshells.
driving, when I'm driving or walking, So hopefully things can make a change, man. That's all it's about. Always progressing forward. But like Shannon said, long way to go. But we're at a pretty good point right now. But the race is not done.
Yeah, so we're just gonna take a moment of silence for those lives who were lost, and through all the police brutality, and maybe just, and hopefully we can find a solution. Nobody really has all the answers, but we come together as one. Things will happen, and I'm pretty sure that we at some point we can get together and move along.
Man, when you're a kid, you don't have all these biases and things like that. As a kid, man, you don't see color, you don't see all these things. You just see a person. So, the childlike innocence, man. Hopefully, as human beings, as adults, we can still find a way to maintain that. But with maturity of adults, just have that childlike innocence of not seeing certain things in the way that they are.
Definitely. All right, man. So let's move on to the show. All right, so I kind of want to talk about NBA. Well, before we get into that, speaking on everything that's going on, these athletes is coming out of nowhere. Like every day is like a new person is getting I guess you want to say canceled or whatever. And we had the Drew Brees falling out yesterday. He came to apologize. I mean, I don't know how that Zoom meeting went with the Saints organization, but some players seem to feel like, I mean, it was genuine, whatever. We wasn't there, so we don't know. You got the Jake Fromm, who's trying to make it to the NFL, coming out with texts from a year ago saying stuff, and it's a reason why in sports and all this is we want to hear from the athletes. We want to hear because LeBron and KD said they would not shut up and dribble, but then you had the same lady saying Drew Brees deserves an opinion. So it's everywhere. I just wanted to mention that before we move on.
Hey man, for any athlete that is talking to their PR person or debating, making a statement, sometimes less said is best said. Change shut up and dribble to just shut up and donate. Because people see a donation, they're going to be cool with that. Sometimes you don't need to say nothing.
Well, you don't need to donate.
Like, even when you do,
don't donate $50.
Man, even when you say something, sometimes
Virgil.
Oh, Virgil. But
do
sometimes, man, even when you do make a statement, people are going to criticize your statement of, oh, that's not good enough, or they're edging.
Right.
Their bit that ride field. Hey, forget shut up and dribble. Shut up and donate. You ain't got to say nothing. Just donate. People gonna see you believe in the cause by your donation, and you at least be not criticized.
Yeah, because Drew Brees fought that was everybody. Saints fans, you hear the F Drew Brees chants in the streets of New Orleans. You talking about a guy who did a lot for Katrina, but it doesn't matter. Like it's the times are not. It's the time is to be right and it is to say the right things and to help. If you don't understand, to learn before you speak. I think that's a big thing right there too. Like speak, please educate yourself.
You just got to read the room, man. That's all it was. He didn't read the room.
Yeah, man, crazy as hell. So before we get into what we're talking about today, NBA is back, starting to end of July. We have 22 teams who have the chance to fight out for a seeding. Guys who, 12 Ounce Sports is sponsored by MyBookie. So if you have your chance to finally bet on some games, if you never used MyBookie before, make sure you put promo code for the first time, 12 Ounce Sports in there, and you get you a good deal, discount on everything. So, but I'm excited. I know you're excited, man. And it's kind of like finally maybe we can get to a new norm, maybe.
Man, place that bet on that championship, man. You might come up pretty big. I want to see how the awards gonna play out. Are they gonna do an award ceremony? Are they just gonna honor the guys during the playoff, during the 8-game play-in? I'm just wondering how that's gonna go pretty much. But I'm glad that they finally came to this season.
Yeah, same here. So we're going to do a profit edition of what the Hall of Fame should do, what we should see in the Hall of Fame, who we should see in the Hall of Fame, and we title it the Upper Room.
We on deck. That you like baseball? We on deck. On deck for what? For what? The Upper Room. You know what that is?
You know what that is.
The motherfucker be singing about? The Upper Room.
The Upper Room. Hey, that's one of my favorite.
The GOAT.
That's one of my favorite scenes, man. Is the Upper Room. Life, one of my favorite movies all the time. The Upper Room, Hall of Fame, by us. We're gonna start with the power forwards, and then we have time. We're gonna go right into the centers, and we'll finish it up within the following weeks with the small forward, shooting guards, and point guards. So basically, we need everybody to understand that the reason why we're doing this Hall of Fame, right, is because we see a lot of people say, man, is this guy a Hall of Famer? Is this guy a Hall of Famer? And to me, so I want you to let you go first. What do you think the Hall of Fame means to you?
Man, the Hall of Fame to me is the elites of the elites, the greatest of the greatest, whether it's on one side of the ball, defensively, whether it's on the offensive side of the ball, whether it's round amount of rebound like Chuck, something like that. Just being the elite of the elite, one of the greatest of all time. That's what it means to me.
Yeah, I think it's right there. It's about being the greatest in your generation for a good period of time. I think people confuse the Hall of Fame with Hall of Good with too much. We talk about, we always address this in football, NFL, about Frank Gore. He's a good football player, very longevity plays a big part in his career. You got guys like, I mean, I'm not saying he's not Hall of Fame either, but you got guys like a Vince Carter who plays 20 years. You got Eli Manning who won Super Bowls, you know, and he showed up in the big moments. But it's like, are these guys good and have Hall of Fame moments, or are they truly Hall of Famers? So that's what we want to comb through and dig out through this steps of what we think the Upper Room Hall of Fame should actually look like, what the NBA should separate from the Naismith Hall of Fame and come about. So let's start with the power forwards, man. So we wanted to also make sure we point out that it started from the 77 NBA merger. So when you don't hear names like the Jerry West, the Elgin Baylors, the Bill Russells, it's because we started from 77 when the NBA started, not with the ABA NBA merger right after that. So if you don't hear somebody name an old head, don't be mad. We're not disrespecting this time, even this time. So Rashad, let's start off.
No, yeah, you know that era, man. Yeah, that era was just crazy, man. Like we value those guys from that era, but it's just right now we doing from the merger because that's when all the best talent began to be under one roof. So
Yes.
77 to the present day. Who's in, who's out, who's on the cusp, who has the potential, and something else. Look, we only counting your NBA stuff, and if you want a gold medal, bronze medal, silver medal as a pro, we not counting the college stuff. So when we get the small forwards and you hear Melo, we not counting the Syracuse ring.
No.
We not counting Anthony Davis college ring. We only counting your pro stats. And if you made the dream team, the redeem team, or something like that, you know, if you Manu, you went and got that gold in 04 with Argentina, something like that. We're counting that, but no college stuff, man.
No college, no high school, because they be trying to count everything. Yeah, so I think it's pretty easy. So we're going to the power forwards. Let's go ahead and knock in who, and this is also a consensus Hall of Fame. So me and Rashad, we may have to convince each other that who should get in and who shouldn't. So let's start off with the greatest power forward of all time to ever grace the floor, Mr. Fundamentals, Tim Duncan. I think that's a pretty easy one.
Oh yeah, easy.
Easy. You're talking about a 5-time champion, 15-time All-Star, 15-time All-Defensive Team, 15 times All-NBA. I mean, he came in the NBA and dominated straight away.
Well, in my opinion, one of the 10 greatest of all time.
Easily. Definitely top 10. Definitely. So he's a shoe-in. Number 2, we got Kevin Garnett, who's also in the same actual Hall of Fame class as Tim Duncan. We're talking about the big ticket, Mr. Anything is possible, Kevin Garnett. Also a 50-time All-Star, man. He got an MVP.
One of the best sound bites ever.
Hell no. That's a good one too. But
oh boy, don't go there.
Hey, that's funny, man. But this guy when you talk about like fierce competitor, you talking about a guy who's going to bring his game all the time and not stop. Kevin Garnett, man, from Minnesota all the way to Boston when he won a championship, you can't. It's hard to go against Kevin Garnett, man. The third guy we got in.
Big ticket. He got the name for a reason.
The third guy we got in is Karl Malone, the mailman. We talked about him and John Stockton and Jerry Sloan, like they all intertwined together for their career and how many times they made the playoffs, and him being a 2-time MVP during the run of Michael Jordan and getting his team to the finals twice. He also made the finals with the Lakers. Karl Malone, he didn't have a championship ring, but when you look at his resume, it's completely stacked, and he's a shoo-in.
No argument from me.
Number 4, man, Charles Barkley, Sir Charles, from the Dream Team in '92. That also helps him get in, but not even that, man. You're talking about a guy who's a 22-11 guy easily every single year. He was the leading scorer on the Dream Team. He won a Finals MVP, took his team to the finals. Sir Charles is just a great personality on TV, which we don't count on this, but when he was on the Sixers, when he was on the Suns, and when he was on the Rockets, man, he was always in the playoffs and he made things happen. Charles Barkley, easy.
One of the best nicknames ever, the round mound of rebound.
And you talking about a guy like 6'5" who played like he's 7'2", man. You can't beat it. And then Dirk Nowitzki, man. I think his Hall of Fame will be in due time. He will actually get into the real Hall of Fame, but for us, he's in now. And you're talking about a guy who put his team on his back, stayed in one city the whole time, just like Tim Duncan did, and one of the best scorers to grace the game. He brought the bridge gap for every team to find the next Dirk. We talking about a guy who can stretch the floor in and out. Dirk Nowitzki, man, shooing easy.
Debatably the second best power forward ever.
Debatably. I would never put him there, but he's debatable. You can debate it. Another shoe-in, man. Kevin McHale. You talking about part of the Boston in the 80s. It was a reason why they was always up there. Of course, Larry Bird was on the team, but you're talking about a guy who was two-way star, had one of the best moves ever, the up and under, that still can't be stopped today. So Kevin McHale, 6-time All-Defensive Team, 7-time All-Star with the Boston Celtics. Plenty of championships on his resume as well.
No doubt.
And then another guy, man, one of my favorites, Mr. Paul Gasol. Dominant in Memphis, took the Grizzlies they wasn't like a 1 or 2 seed one time, and once he came over to the Lakers, man, everything about him just blew up. You talking about a guy, right? He's still playing in the NBA, but to me, he's been out this whole season for injury. I think he's pretty much done. I think he's trying to stay in shape for the Olympics that he thought was going to happen.
Man, hey, yo, Powell was done 2 years ago, bro. Like, Powell was low-key done on the Spurs, man. Powell was finished, man.
He was finished, but he's one of the greatest power forwards I've ever seen play. And he has the versatility just like Tim Duncan and Kevin Garnett to play the center position, which is very, very highly in my ranking. So Paul Gasol definitely shoe in.
Oh, yeah, one of the most skilled guys ever, man.
And another guy, no-brainer, our last one, no-brainer decision, nicknamed the Worm, Dennis Rodman.
One of the worst nicknames ever.
But you talk about a guy who, man, he was a bad boy to start it off, and then at the end, I mean, one of the best rebounders to ever play the game. You're talking about a guy who led the rebounding like in this era and after the 77s without the Bill Russells and Wilt, who averaged 25 and 30 rebounds. This guy was getting 16 like it wasn't nothing, and he's not 7 foot. Like that's crazy as it is. So Dennis Rodman, off the court, man, Carmen Electra,
bro, a GOAT off and on the court, man. Come on, man. The lifestyle dude lived, the things he's done, man, and to still be able to produce at a high level. Come on,
yes.
Man, you got to give it up. You got to give a salute.
Yes,
to
definitely.
The Worm, Dennis Rodman.
Shout out Dennis Rodman.
5-time champion. Come on, man.
5 rings, 7-time rebounding champ. 7? You led the league in rebounding 7 straight times. Not straight times, but 7 times. You can't.
Man, 8 times all defense, 2-time defensive player of the year. I mean, come on. Who cares about the offensive end when you producing like this on the defensive end?
Exactly. You talk about one of the greatest, if not the greatest, defensive player of all time. So those are our shoe-ins for the power forward. There was only 8 guys. So now we'll get to the nitty-gritty of what's going on. So let's start with the guys that's not playing, that's done playing, retired, and let's see where we think they are. So
we got what, 4 or 5?
Four or 5 guys that's retired, that's questionable. Okay, so let's start with this. One of my favorite players, at the power forward position, C-Webb. So C-Webb, we know him from the Warriors. The guy, he got traded for Penny on draft night. Dominant with the Kings. Just couldn't get past Shaq and Kobe. Couldn't get past Tim Duncan. But Chris Webber, man, what are your thoughts on Chris Webber making it into the Upper Room Hall of Fame when you're talking about the elites of the elites?
Well, the case for Mr. C-Webb is C-Webb went to the Warriors. He didn't really fit what Dunn. No, he fit, but he didn't fit what Dunn doesn't want to do. But they still make the playoffs. He goes to, at the time, the Washington Bullets in a trade. Him and Juwan Howard lead the Bullets to the playoffs. And, of course, he goes on to the Kings, and he's in his prime form then. and he's putting up major numbers. He's right there on par with our consensus of Duncan, KG, Dirk. He's right there in that era, balling with those guys. And of course, Powell came in around that I think 2001 draft, so he got a little bit of power in his prime. So I mean, when you're making All NBA, you're in MVP consideration amongst those guys that we just mentioned earlier. He has a pretty strong case. He has multiple years of averaging double doubles, averaging over 20 some points a game. So, and his skill set very diverse. He can bring the ball to the court, mid range, athletic freak. So, strong case for C. Will.
Yeah, see, a good thing that's working for C Web this time is we're not including college, so that timeout, is nipped in the bud. But C Web, man, I think what get lost with C Web is the fact that people don't think he is a winner, and I think that you have to look at everybody's situation differently, and it is a case by case situation. And we do set the baseline. So we talked about him being on the upper echelon during the time with Tim Duncan, Garnett, and Nowinski was all around. I mean, C. Webb could go toe-to-toe with those guys, and he was in the All-Stars as a starter a couple of times, and being right alongside the Duncans and the Garnetts. And when you talk about the only thing he doesn't have on the resume is the championship, and it's like, okay, is it his fault? Could it have been? I mean, you think about the one of the biggest shots ever from Robert Horry against the Kings. The Kings was going up in that series, and that Lakers probably would have been out of there. And
Vlade fought for tapping the ball, grab the ball, man.
he tried to keep away from Big Shaq, man. But see what, man. I think I would put him in our upper echelon because, I mean, everywhere he went, he was a star. And if him and Iverson got together, like during most of his prime, you talk about a team that they just need those two, and they would have been in the NBA Finals more than just once.
He's right there on like that. We got our tier ones, but he's right there on that, right there with Powell, because Powell has the 6 All-Stars, 4 All-NBAs, and C. Webb has 5 All-Stars, 5 All-NBAs. So they are similar in that aspect, but the separator is Powell with those 2 championships. And, Tim, KG, Malone, Barkley, Dirk, they all won, except for Charles, they all won titles and MVP. But C. Webb doesn't have a title or MVP, so I think people, like you said, knocking for that. But
right.
If I'm casting my ballot, I'm voting for C. Webb, man. I think he deserves to be in the upper echelon, the upper room of the Hall of Fame.
All right, well, C. Webb, welcome in as the 9th edition to the Power 4 Hall of Fame of the upper room. All right, so we set a baseline right there for letting C. Webb in. So let's talk about some other guys. Let's talk about a guy who has a championship ring and not just one, but 2. Chris Bosh, Toronto Raptors, Miami Heat legend, 11-time All-Star. If it wasn't for the condition he got with the blood clots.
Yeah, blood clots. Yeah.
If it wasn't
Terrible.
for that, I mean, we talk about a guy who he may be still
might
around.
still be in the league right now.
Right, exactly, and he might be, and whether and we talk about this. We talk about the longevity part, like whether he was from his tier being great, was he a straight Hall of Famer then, or is he more of a Hall of Famer if he was able to stay long like Gasol and other guys who, whether you just accumulate stats on your resume. And Chris Bosh, 19 points a game, 9 rebounds a game, but you're talking about him being very unselfish coming to Miami when he was a dominant player in Toronto. Toronto, hey, I know Chris Bosh wouldn't change anything that in his career, but do you think, just off the ball, you think Chris Bosh would have not got in, but you think the Raptors would have been a problem if he had waited for DeRozan to grow up?
Probably not a major, I wouldn't say a problem. They would have been definitely a solid team in the East. But you never know how it goes for guys. Does one guy want to be the man, or
right.
That alpha male, the ego thing, like who that crazy debate to me of whose team is it? I hate that debate. So you have to deal with that kind of stuff, and then of course, Kyle Lowry, what role did he play? So, you never know how they do the roster because, of course, at that time, Masai wasn't there yet. So you never know what plays out. But they would have probably definitely been a consistent 3 to, I would say 4 to 6, but somewhere between 3 to 6 seed in the East more than likely because DeRozan and Lowry did it. So of course, when you got an All-Star and Bosh, I think 3 to 6 seed in the East perennially.
Do you let Chris Bosh in our Upper Room Hall of Fame? What's his case?
The case for Chris Bosh. All right, 11-time All-Star, 2-time champion. But when you're looking at All-NBA, only made one All-NBA. But he does have a couple of seasons. Well, I won't say a couple. I won't sell him short like that. In his Toronto years, he did average over 22 actually, for 5 to 6 years. Then of course with Miami, his role changed. So when you look at just his Miami tenure, he was averaging 18 and 7. So solid career numbers wise. But it's just that thing of the numbers are there, but I value like all NBA, and at certain points he wasn't considered one of the 6 best forwards in the league. So, and you can say that's because, well, he's at the time where he's the third option. So there's LeBron, there's KD's, Melo's making it.
Right.
LaMarcus Aldridge made it a couple of times, Blake Griffin a couple of times. So he's going up against those guys. So his resume is lacking because he's the third guy. So Bron and Wade and all the attention. But if I'm voting, man, I'll give Chris Bosh my vote for the Hall of Fame, for the upper room, the upper echelon of the Hall of Fame.
Cause see, my thing is what you're talking about being the best guy. So even when he was in Toronto, like he wasn't able to get multiple All NBAs. Because you talk about Aldridge, and we'll talk about Blake Griffin soon, and another guy, like they have at least 4 to 5, and you're talking about being, like you said, being the top 6, and I do know it's kind of hard to make an All NBA when you have the likes of LeBron James, Durant, and you got Melo ruining things, and you talk about Tim Duncan still being around, Garnett still being around, all throughout Chris Bosh's career, among Blake Griffins and Aldridge. All these guys are in his career, so it's kind of like, do we knock him for not being better than them guys consistently, or is it like, well, if this was any other time when the position wasn't so dominated, he would have all the accolades?
Well, I'm gonna have to throw your point in. The thing that me you talk about all the time, you hate it a lot. Chris Bosh lacks more All NBAs because in his prime as a solo act, he wasn't winning. And I know you hate when guys All-Stars, All NBAs get decided by their winning or losing situation. So I think only making the playoffs twice in Toronto hurts him on the All NBA side. And then you go to Miami to actually start winning. you the third option. So now
right.
You really couldn't catch a break on either side except for still making All-Star and still getting those 2 rings. So I think that's the case, that we could point to of why he should be in on the lack of All NBA nods. But he has my vote. I would vote him in. Cause
see, it just for me, I'm looking and I'm like, man, it's like the trajectory was there for him to make the Hall of Fame. If we're talking about a young Chris Bosh in Toronto, I would say the way he's going, he's a no-brainer Hall of Fame. And it's kind of like going to Miami, he made his line go down. And I don't know, and to me, I know a lot of people, well, like everybody loved Dwayne Wade, right? And everybody hate to say it, that he was on the way down when LeBron was there. And they don't understand that part. But it's kind of like is the reason why if Chris Bosh there. So Chris Bosh, we want to talk about Ray Allen saved LeBron so much, but we always had the debate about that game. But Chris Bosh did get that rebound. Chris Bosh was there at big moments. He was there on the biggest stage, doing it versus the greatest guys on the biggest stage. And I think, it's kind of like, okay, well, would he have gotten there if he wasn't with LeBron? And he probably wouldn't have. And I think that's what's kind of iffy, because you talk about Tim Duncan, Garnett. Garnett was more in his later years, but his solo act was so dominant. Charles Barkley's solo act was so dominant. Even Chris Webber's solo act was so dominant during his time. And it's like, Chris Bosh, did we not get enough of a solo act to determine where he stands?
I think so. He had his last 5 years in Toronto, he averaged 22.8 points, 9.9 rebounds, 50% field goal, and 81% from the free throw line. And that's just in his last 5 years when he started make an All-Star. So his 5 All-Star years in Toronto, those were his numbers. I mean, so you kind of see what kind of pace he was on had he
Right.
stayed a solo act.
What was his numbers once LeBron James left? 'Cause I mean,
Oh,
he only
man.
played what 1 or 2 seasons after LeBron?
Yeah,
So-
they lost the 14 championship. So his 2 years without LeBron, he averaged 21, 7, and 2 assists. But he only played 44 games that year, and then the next year, 19 and 7, and he played 53 games that year.
See, and this is why I was kind of threatening. Maybe I wish to move on and come back to Chris Bosh for my vote because I'm having I'm having conflicting issues, man. Like he needs to be in, but it's like if we let him in, do we open a box?
But you know what they say, man. Like if you got to think about it, they not in. But I think he's in. But you know, if you got to think about it, he probably not in.
All right, so let's come back. Let's come back. Let's set some more baselines and let me see if he can get in there. All right, Amari Stoudemire. Does he belong in the upper room?
The case for Amari is a 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA. He was a part of those great Suns teams with Steve Nash, Sean Marion. But to me, I'll just go ahead and answer it right now. He's not in the Hall of Fame.
All right, so is Stoudemire not getting in is because he didn't get to the championship, or how are you rating that? Because he does have the 5 All NBA during a time where you had the Tim Duncan and Garnett's at the peak of their powers.
And look, yeah, like he was getting all NBA at the same time. Bosh was in the league too, so like you can hold that against Bosh. Like, but to me, that's where it comes in. They have very similar skill sets, but at the same time, it's that thing of situation. He's on the Suns with Steve Nash, Sean Marion. I mean, Bosh was in Toronto. Vince Carter's out of there. DeRozan hasn't emerged yet. You're really the only guy there. So,
Right. Okay.
Different situation plays a part, but 6-time All-Star, 5-time All-NBA, 2003 Rookie of the Year. But I can't put Amari in. A good quality year in 05, 26 and 9. Quality year in 07, 20 and 9. Same thing 08, 25 and 9. He got hurt in 2009, but still was an All-Star, 21 and 8. 23 and 8 his last year in Phoenix, and then he went 25 and 8 with the Knicks. But after that, he was declining. So just because his sample size is so short, and we actually got to see Bosh get more longevity, that's why I would give Bosh the nod over Amari.
Okay. I mean, I can understand that because you're saying basically if Chris Bosh was blessed with a Nash in Toronto, you talk about how great Chris Bosh already had a great solo act alone. With Nash would have been, or with Mike D'Antoni's system to give you more options, give you more time with the ball. I can see that point. I think to me it's kind of like so Stoudemire would be in that category of Chris Webber where you're looking at, okay, can he meet that Chris Webber bar? And I don't know. I don't think Amari Stoudemire I don't think his peak powers could match Chris Webber's. Like when you talk about versus Tim Duncan and KG, I don't think Chris Webber was ever went into the game and was like they're better than me. And at the time, even in the early 2000s, like it's not like okay, Tim Duncan is there. I gotta bring my A game obviously, but it's like I don't think Chris Webber's A game was so far from Tim Duncan's at that early 2000 stage. And I don't think Stoudemire ever had that when you're talking about during his time with everybody else. And you're right, everybody does benefit off that D'Antoni system. So it's kind of hard to put him in. So I would agree with you. Amari Stoudemire would not be in. So basically, if Ramir Rashad don't put somebody in, they can't make it. They got to have two out of 2 votes. It's a small voting panel, man. So Amari Stoudemire does not get to the upper room. So what about this last guy who's retired? Sean Kemp, a part of a dynamic duo who made the finals in the 90s. I just keep it easy, man. I don't think he has enough. I think Sean Kemp is probably one of the most overrated players, especially at power forward. I mean, we talk about his dunks and stuff, but that's not going to impress me. 6-time All-Star, 3-time All-NBA, but for career number-wise, only averaging 15 and 8. You can't be in my upper room.
Yeah, he played on some great Sonics teams, had a good quality year with the Cavs, and then it all kind of just spiraled downhill. And he was at a prime age too. Like, I mean, he was on the Cavs at 28. So, like, you thought he got plenty more game left to build his credentials up. But unfortunately, it all went downhill, man. He had some good years, like you said, those 6 All-Stars, 3-time All-NBA with the Sonics, and they won a lot of games during that time. But just on, just the sheer numbers and not enough sample size, similar to Amari, Sean Kemp would not get my vote to the Hall of Fame. He would not be in my upper echelon.
All right, I'm still pondering on my Chris Bosh decision. So let's go into guys who are currently in the NBA. So I'm just gonna name all 4 of them, and we can talk about them. Blake Griffin, LaMarcus Aldridge, Kevin Love, and Draymond Green. When you talk about elites, can they? You think them getting in deteriorates our Hall of Fame?
This might be a surprise, but based upon the baseline that's already kind of been set, of these 4, I would give Draymond Green the biggest edge to make this Hall of Fame. Ours as well as the Naismith. But for ours, man, when you look at his resume and then you go back and look at Dennis Rodman's, it's pretty daggone close. So Draymond is 3-time All-Star, three championships, Defensive Player of the Year, Steel Champion, 5-time All-Defensive, and 2-time All-NBA. That's right up there with Dennis. Dennis 2-time All-NBA. Dennis 8-time defensive. Draymond's at 5 and still has more games to go. He doesn't have the rebounding titles, but he does have the Defensive Player of the Year. Excuse me. But he's
You funny.
Draymond got me choked up, man. Getting choked up talking about Draymond. But his resume is similar to Dennis, man. So based upon that baseline that's been set, I would say Draymond has to be in. He has the best case out of him, Aldridge, Blake, and Kevin Love.
Yeah, I'm glad that we didn't bring. See, letting Amari Stoudemire in, I think that opened the door for Aldridge and for Blake Griffin. For those 2 guys, I mean, you talking about consistency from LaMarcus Aldridge, and I think that's why we're doing this, because he's not a Hall of Famer, but he's definitely, when you talk about the Hall of Good of guys who can be consistently good for a long time,
long period of time. Yeah,
LaMarcus Aldridge is the face almost of that. Like, he's on the Mount Rushmore of that. Like, he's up there.
My boy steady, man.
Yeah.
From the Blazers to the Spurs, he's steady. He'll get you 18 and 9.
Hey, consistently. And thing about it is, he will make an All-NBA team. He will make an All-Star team. He'd be like, why? And when you watch him play, man, he's one, like, you talking about a guy who can knock down the mid-range jump shots. He can do the dirty work inside. He don't want to play center, but he can if he has to. And like I said, I think that, to me, that holds a little weight. But Aldridge definitely is on the Hall of Good. Blake Griffin. Blake Griffin.
Name wise, Blake Griffin's a Hall of Famer.
Right. But when you don't add it in college, and when you don't just think about him dunking, same as Sean Kemp, but Blake Griffin, I think what cost him for him not to get his nod is the injuries, because this Blake Griffin can shoot threes now. This Blake Griffin.
Man.
This Blake Griffin is nasty, but he can't play. He can't stay healthy.
I'm gonna say it's like Draymond and Blake. They both had that crazy skill set of their power forwards playing power forward, but they both can pass.
Yes,
like that's key. Like Blake has been averaging 4 or 5 assists at times in his career.
Yeah, and I think Blake Griffin, if healthy, can still find his way to make the upper room Hall of Fame. But I think right now, talking about right now. And can he get his trajectory? I don't think he's there anymore because of the injuries, and because he can't showcase his talent anymore at a high level. And of course, can you show that in the playoffs? And that's what he's always going to lack. And going from LA, losing Chris Paul and all them, going to Detroit, you would think it'd be easy for him to get into the playoffs, but got hurt again. So it's kind of like, man, come on, stay healthy. Maybe we can bring you back to that stage. And your Draymond point, excuse me, I'm struggling. Only reason why, because see, with Dennis Rodman, we saw him change teams, and I would say this. All right, let me start with Draymond Green. If you're talking about greatest glue guys of all time, he's top 5, no question. When you talk about bringing, like, him being on the Warriors is the reason why the Warriors do have championships. As far as like Curry's not the leader, Clay's not the leader. Somebody got to talk. And we talk about talking. He's up there with Kevin Garnett. And we talk about defensive. He's up there with Tim Duncan as far as being a great defender on the team, the best defender on the team, and him being a power forward-ish guy who can guard centers, he can guard small forwards, he can maybe shut down a shooting guard every now and then. Okay, this guy is great, but I think right now what's holding me back, and maybe you can convince me, is the fact that the rebounds, like, so he's elite as a defender, but it's like, what else is he giving me besides the leadership and the defense? And I don't know if I'm putting his defense on a Dennis Rodman level. I don't know. Convince me and get Draymond Green in here.
I mean, defensively, they do similar things just in different ways. Like Dennis was more of a energizer bunny versus Draymond. He's more in the league of versatility. He's major key. Like they can play guys off the floor. They can play. What he can do can play a Capella, a Gobert off the floor. He can. Passing wise, he can initiate the offense. Dennis, when touching the ball, initiating the offense. Like Draymond is way better passer. If you get him going, he can hit a couple threes. Like in the playoffs against Bron, he has a couple games where like Draymond
he go crazy. He went crazy. Yeah, okay.
Draymond. So like,
all right.
Skill set wise, the resume similar to Dennis. We already said that, but skill set wise, he can get you a triple single. Like he can get you a 10-10-10 triple double.
Hey, shout out to OG. Hey, shout out to OG Charles, man. Because you're right. He can actually get you a triple double.
I need that sound bite right now, man. He had this usual triple single, and then Shaq just make it worse.
Shaq gotta laugh at that, man, because that's hilarious. That's crazy to say. But you know what? Forget it, man. Draymond, get in there, man. Get in there. You made it to the upper room. Rashad did convince me. I do like the fact that you bring up the versatility point about him being able to start the offense. The offense can run through him, as long as you got the scores around him, he can do everything else. And I think already being a 5-time All Defense, he's got that that respect around the league that he's going to be at least a 10-time All Defensive player, which will put him past Dennis Rodman. Like in 3 more years, you don't think Draymond will make it? Like he can tie Dennis Rodman pretty soon.
He should get at least 2 more, like just prime wise,
right.
And Warriors run wise, he should get at least 2 more.
Tony Allen got one. He wasn't even on prime, so yeah, Draymond can get one. So yeah, all right. So before we hit commercial, let's talk about Kevin Love. And then after the commercial, I'm gonna give y'all my answer on Chris Bosh and Kevin Love. So Kevin Love, 5-time All-Star, 1-time champ with Cavaliers, most improved player, 2-time All-NBA. You talking about a guy who did the same thing similar to Chris Bosh, and I think Chris Bosh and Kevin Love are very similar in this facet to where they were not winning as much. Kevin Love not at all, but you're talking about stat-wise, they were on the trajectory to be one of the greatest to ever play the position. But then you go team up with LeBron and you take that step back and you take that role of the third guy, and for whatever reason, everybody loves Chris Bosh, but they don't seem to love Kevin Love. No pun intended.
And I'm one of those people.
All right.
Because
explain it.
Bro,
explain it. Preach it to me.
Man, bro. Kevin Love been in the league 12 years. The only time he ever made the playoffs was playing with LeBron. So if LeBron ain't standing beside him, he's not in the playoffs.
So all right. So you gonna blame Kevin Love because his GM decided to draft Johnny Flynn and Rick Rubio instead of Steph Curry?
I'm not blaming him for that. Kevin Love has perennially been. I mean, Kelly Olynyk instant aside, he's been perennially unhealthy. I mean, he's only played the most amount of games he's played 77, 77, 75, 73. He played in 81 his rookie year, but only started 37. So for the most part, he gonna get you 60 games a year. That's about it. So I mean that's cool and all, but I prefer healthy guys. His skill set is there. He can shoot the three, he can rebound, but he does not provide a whole lot on the defensive end. Granted, he got to stop against Stephen Curry in the finals, which was still fault for not going around him. He had the speed to go around him. But besides that one stop, Kevin Love has only averaged over 23 times. And I'm not saying that lightly because getting 20 in any sport, any level of basketball is elite. But he has his last year in Minnesota, 26. 2012 was the lockout year. He got 26 that year, 26 and 13. And the year before that, 2011, he was 20 and 15. 20 points, 15 boards, led the league in rebounds. But I just can't put Kevin Love in. As a Timberwolves, 19 and 12. As a Cavs, 17 and 10. I mean, I'm not giving Kevin Love the nod, man. Not enough success. If he didn't go to the Cavs, he would just be a stat guy.
I got you. So we'll take a quick commercial and I'll give you my answer on the way back. And we are back.
Yeah, I hope while we were on commercial break, everybody was checking out 12 Ounce Sports to get you a T-shirt, get you a nice polo. Use the code 12 Ounce Sports, get you a discount on that bad boy. Quench your sports thirst. 12 Ounce Sports Radio, baby.
You funny. I like it. Kevin Love. Come on, man. He was averaging 26 and 14 in Minnesota, and he had to take a not. All right. So the way Wade was going down. This my little spiel. I'm gonna see if I can convince you. Wade was going down, so Bosh was able to stay up, right? But when Kevin Love went from to Minnesota to Cavaliers, he had to play with Kyrie, who wanted to shoot all the shots. It's a difference that I think this big three versus the Miami big three was Kyrie was on ascension, was going up, and Kevin Love had to take not 2 steps but 3 steps back, and that's why you see him not get the love for Kevin anymore.
Man, if I'm gonna let Kevin Love in, I gotta let LaMarcus Aldridge in, bro. Like to me, they're on the same level. If I'm gonna let Kevin Love, I gotta let Amari in.
We talking about
Amari prime was better than Kevin Love prime.
You talking about a guy.
Play, situation wise was different, but they both played with great players. Amari just didn't get the championship.
All right, that's fine. All right, Kevin Love, I'm sorry. I tried to give him a shot. He won't buy it. So Kevin Love will not make it. Chris Bosh, man, I think I might need another week to think about this. Damn, I think I might have to do it, bro. I might have to vote no, just because I think he's so similar to everybody else that we talked about. I think he's so similar to Stoudemire, Love, and Aldridge that I think his solo act wasn't long enough, and that's what I'm gonna knock him for.
Let them all in and keep them all out. So, hey, you stand with your baseline. And just on the guys on the rise, Siakam and Porzingis, I think trajectory-wise, they're on the path to becoming future Hall of Famers to get into the upper room. But right now, not enough sample size.
Right.
Siakam has his championship most improved player.
Sample
size-wise,
24-8-4 this year, man.
Man, crazy. So projecting those guys could be in his convo for sure in about 8 to 10 years. But we got 2 guys, man, who, let's see, if they retired today, would we say you are in the Prophets Upper Room Hall of Fame? Anthony Davis, Giannis Antetokounmpo. What you think, Kev?
Yes, and hell yes. And that's what I'm going with, because these 2 guys. All right, so we know that wings win rings, And
Man, these guys beast mode, man.
man,
That's all I can say.
these
Beast
two
mode.
guys can do anything, and that's the problem. Like we know Davis, his lack thing is like Griffin's is the injuries a little bit, but he still plays 80+% of his games. And Giannis, we know that the shot got to come, but Giannis has gotten better every single year. And
Scary.
And this year alone, I mean, over what? How many? 30 points at least. He's getting like 13, 14 rebounds. He can pass the ball. He can play. He's one of the best defenders in the league. He's 6'11", but can play 1 through 5. I just you talking about a guy who, okay, Kareem had Oscar Robertson. And Giannis may not ever get an Oscar Robertson in Milwaukee, but Giannis can put Milwaukee in a prime position this year, being the best player in the East to win a championship. Whether he can beat LA teams or not, he has the opportunity to do what Kawhi did last year and win one for a franchise who haven't won in so long. And he do that right there. Not only does he make the Upper Room Hall of Fame, man, this guy, he's going straight to number 6 if he wins championship this year. Straight to number 6 all time.
Yo, Giannis retired today, he definitely in. Because, look, he going to probably add, not probably, he will add another All-NBA nod, so that'll be 4. He should add another All-Defensive nod, that'll be 3. And he going to probably add another MVP, that'll be 2. So,
and how old is he? 24, 25? Like this?
He's 25, so, I mean, I look at this, like, how we were just talking about Kevin Love's prime, Amari's prime, these guys' prime. Look, Giannis, in his 4 years as an All-Star, is averaging 26.5 points, 11 boards, 5.5 assists, 1.4 steals, 1.5 blocks. This dude, and he's not even done yet. He ain't even got a consistent jump shot yet. And he ain't even hit 27, 28 yet. So, Giannis, if he retired right now, on resume alone, he's in. And, of course, the Brow. I got to get my boy the Brow nod, man. 7-time All-Star, 3-time block champion, 3-time All-Defensive, 3-time All-NBA. He should add another All-NBA nod. And I think at some point, if not this year, he will win at least one Defensive Player of the Year award. I mean, the Brow, man, I got to put him in there.
Yeah, Davis.
I mean, he's basically KG and Duncan put together.
Right. If KG and Duncan had a baby, they produce Anthony Davis. If Yao Ming and Tim Duncan had a baby, Giannis? I don't know what Giannis is to be. Like, he's man amongst boys. But you talking about Davis who, like, I know we're talking about winning, and that's where a lot of things get lost. Only got 2 minutes left, but he can do everything. In New Orleans, he was the guy, and he had no help until Drew Holiday was on the rise. And now that you see him,
Cousins came.
Right, and now that you see him with the Lakers, and you see him, he's leading the team in scoring, the most rebounds on the team, the most blocks, the most steals. The only thing he don't
everything
except
except
assists. And that's LeBron James. So he do everything. He's leading every category, and that's why you don't matter what team you put him on, he probably gonna be the best player on the team. Like even LeBron's 17, Davis can still be the best player. He's only 26. Both these guys are under 26 and 25 years old. That's at least 8 more years before we have to worry about like breaking down. I mean, Davis been hurt, but it's not like he got a torn ACL. Like he's getting nagging injuries. That's okay.
Man, he played 80% of the games. He's good, and he deserves to be in the Hall of Fame, man. So let's hit a quick recap, man. We got the 8 no-brainers: Tim Duncan, Kevin Garnett, Karl Malone, Charles Barkley, Dirk Nowitzki, Kevin McHale, Dennis Rodman, and Pau Gasol. Chris Webber has been elected. We also elected Draymond Green unanimously. If they retire today, we think AD and Giannis would go in, and we left out Chris Bosh, Sean Kemp, Amari, LaMarcus Aldridge, Blake Griffin, Kevin Love. So for the guys we named, where are they going, Kel?
The upper room. That's how you sing it right there. The upper room.
Shout out to the GOAT, Eddie Murphy, man. Shout out to the GOAT.
That's funny, man. Hey, so we didn't get a chance to get into the Senators, man, but we will get to them next week. Hey, we're gonna finish our upper room series before the NBA comes back. We still got a week. So preach, care, preach with Rashad, man. We out, man.